Well, good morning. My name is David Donathan, and I'm the Minister of Music and Organist here at Christ Church United Methodist in Charleston, West Virginia. I'm here in the sanctuary of Christ Church on this beautiful morning to give you a word of hope as we journey through this Holy Week together. Now, when this beautiful room was built in the early 1970s, the architect, Ed Sovick, called this space a centrum instead of using the traditional word sanctuary. Sovick called his worship spaces centrums because they were simply a meeting place for people. And within that physical space, the congregation professed who they were as a Christian people. Now, this centrum is the central place we gather here at Christ Church, and it is our main worship space. However, the centrum is also used for concerts, for dramas, and for lectures, and therefore is more easily adaptable to those events when compared to what many would call a traditional sanctuary, where moving within the space can sometimes be very limited. I share this today because the song I want to sing to you speaks to Christ being at the center of all that we do. Today I want to share with you the song In Christ Alone, with text by Stuart Townend and music by Keith Getty. Now here we are in the middle of Holy Week. Tomorrow we will remember the Last Supper Jesus shared with his disciples in the upper room. On Friday, during the traditional hours of noon to 3 p.m., we will remember his crucifixion. And this Sunday, we will celebrate his glorious resurrection. We have all heard the story before, and it is at the very foundation of what we profess as Christians. In Christ Alone was the first song Stuart Townend and Keith Getty created together. They met each other through a mutual friend while attending a worship conference. As they talked over coffee, they decided to create a song together. Keith Getty is a classically trained musician who composed music in a modern but classic style. Stuart Townend is well known as an author and musician. When Stuart received some melodies from Keith, the first one on the CD was the one that moved Stuart to write the lyrics to the song In Christ Alone. Here is what Stuart said. The only thing I could think was to base the lyrics on the eternal theme of life, death, and resurrection of Christ. The verses came in a fairly linear way, but as the third verse developed, I was getting pretty excited as I thought about the amazing implication of Christ's finished work on the cross. I wanted to write a fourth verse that was about us, but not just as an emotional response, but as an undeniable statement of the power of Christ to sustain us in this life. Now, the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus is at the center of who we are as Christians, and I think this song is the perfect one to remind us of who we are and whose we are as we travel through this Holy Week this year. Stuart Townend and Keith Getty are my favorite contemporary Christian authors and composers. In my opinion, they create the perfect marriage of classical and contemporary styles, much like this centrum is both classical and contemporary in its design. Their music is very singable, and the texts are very relevant to today. Since both of them live in the United Kingdom, most, if not all of their music has a natural Celtic feel to it. Now, this music will be more familiar to those who attend our early 8:45 alternate worship experience, because we've done this song several times there. And for the rest of you, it might be new. But I want to encourage you to listen to the music, listen to the text and let it speak to you on this Wednesday of Holy Week.
This Holy Week will be different for many of us. Even so, my prayer for you this day is that you will feel connected and blessed by being part of the large Christian community, especially the community here called Christ Church. We may not be physically together, but we are all connected in the love of Jesus Christ. May God bless each of you as we continue on our journey through Holy Week.